Our topic is the wages of sin is death. The wages of sin is death. See, sin is what separates us from God. Sin is what separates us from God. Sin goes against what God tells us to do. It goes against God's instructions. It goes against his instructions. So when God said, thou shalt, and we don't do it, we're sinning. When he said, thou shalt, and we don't do it, we're sinning. And when he says, thou shalt not do this, and we do it, we're sinning. So when he tells us we should do something and we don't do it, we're sinning. When he tells us we shouldn't do something and we do it, we're sinning. It separates us from him. It separates us from him. And man, can you imagine being separated from your very life source? Because I know people go out here, some people say, oh, there is no God and I don't believe in God. But that doesn't mean that he's not real and he's not true. And that means this God who's breathing in their nostrils the breath of life, they're actually separating themselves from him. Separating themselves from that God. To me, that's scary. That means you're out there unprotected. Like, and as I used this analogy before, that's like going to war and you don't have any of your armor on and you're running out to the battlefield. That don't sound wise, does it? No. So that means that being, separated from God because of your sin, you're exposed to everything that can happen. That means everything that can go on. Let's think about whenever, you don't get inoculations and things like that. That means that you're more susceptible to them diseases. You're not immune. So just imagine you're out there exposed to everything that can happen. Now, that's a dangerous spot to be in. Dangerous spot to be in. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be that way. But the thing about it is, we got to ask ourselves something. Because we're natural, we are still flesh. We're still earthly. We don't have these celestial bodies. We're not in heaven yet. So we got to ask ourselves and say, well, what is so bad about sin? Why can't we sin? What's bad about it? Why is it sin? What's bad about it? Well, number one, God tells us we shouldn't do it. So that's what's bad. That's ultimately what it comes down to. I still remember heard the First Lady when she was going through First Lady Corner saying, because, when she tells the children to do something and they ask why, don't ask me why, it's because I said to do this. So that's enough in itself, but let's just try to get an understanding, right? Because we don't completely understand everything, but when you begin to look at certain things, with sin, people sin. Why do they sin? Because some of the things that they're doing in sin is very pleasurable for them. For the moment. Very pleasurable for them for the moment. Right? But what happens afterwards, it brings a whole lot of consequences. A whole lot of heaviness. And later on in the outline reading of the Bible, you're going to find out, we're going to talk about, there's going to be one that's going to actually really, really come forward and talk about how heavy it is. Right? And see, the thing about it is it feels good for the moment. But then there's a lot of consequences that happen, a lot of problems that happen. Has that ever happened to somebody before? It's something that you really, really wanted to do. You really wanted to do it. You had a lot of desire. You're like, man, only thing you can see is just doing this. And then after you're done, you say, oh, man, that was a stupid move. Man, oh, my goodness. I'm already, because now this is going to happen. And now that's going to happen. And problems start coming your way. That's what happens. We get blinded by it, and then all of a sudden, all the consequences start happening. And then we start to feel overwhelmed. And then we start to feel pitiful. And then we start looking all bad, and we're wanting people to help us out of our spot. But we put ourselves in that spot. We put ourselves there. We did that. And so what we have to realize is saying, hey, listen, I know it may look good. But it's not good. Right? So that's the thing about sin is sin brings about death and nothing good comes from it. You understand me? There's nothing good that comes from death. The only thing that ever came good from death is salvation from the Lord Jesus Christ. There's nothing good that comes from death.
Preach.
Think about anything that's dying. Can you use it? Say, oh man, that's all broken down. We're going to use being broken down and deteriorated as being used. Oh, that's broken down. I can't even, can't use it. It died. Your battery, is your battery good when in your car when it died? You're like, oh my goodness. Nothing that comes from death. Nothing good comes from death. You understand me? There's hardly anything that's good that comes from death. But see, the thing about it is what we got to realize is this. Think about whenever Adam and Eve was in the garden and they had all that beauty around them. All the beauty around them. You know what I mean? All the beauty. And the thing about it is, you know how like sometimes we want to play more than we work? But look at this. Adam, man, it didn't even seem like that his work was even really, his work was like pleasure. Because a part of his sin was, thou shalt earn thy bread by the sweat of your brow. Right? Part of his punishment for sin was that. So it seemed like his work wasn't, it must have been called something else, right? You know what I mean? Because work is a punishment. I don't know what it was called. It might have been play back then. I don't know. But the thing about it is, that's what sin brought about. But let's think about when he was in that garden. He's in the garden, and he's in there with Eve, right? And they had all this, it was like paradise on earth. Paradise on earth. And then, when Adam and Eve both had eaten from the fruit, had eaten from the tree that they were told not to do, right? And the one that's causing people to still sin today was responsible for that, the devil, right? But just think about it. Just think about this. Would she consider, you know what I mean, when her son Abel had died, when her son Abel died, right, which came through the works of death, which came through sin, right, her son Abel who had died because of sin, would she say, you know what, like me eating from that tree was worth my son dying. I'm glad, that fruit was so worth it. Do you think that she would say, her sin was worth her son dying? See, but that's how it looks with us. You understand me? We're doing this thing that we're given into because we're thinking that, oh man, this is going to be a good thing to do. And we're told that it's not. The Word of God told us that we shouldn't do these things. But it's going to be like that same situation with Eve. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Is it going to be whenever you have to face the music, whenever you got to sit down and deal with the consequences, are you going to still feel that it was worth it? So, the ultimate consequence is when you stand before your Maker and He tells you either enter into His rest or depart from me, you worker of iniquity, I never knew you. Is it going to be worth it at that time? Is it truly going to be worth, you doing the things that you do? I say not. You know what I mean? I don't think that there's any amount of sin on earth. If I'm answering this question from Adam's standpoint or from Eve's standpoint, saying if I ate off of that tree and I ate that fruit, I'm not going to, there's no way in the world, if I knew eating off that tree was going to kill my son, I would eat off the tree. But see, the thing about it is that if she would have just obeyed, and if Adam would have just obeyed, your son would have continued to live. Would have continued to live. That was a result. Death came by sin. He said, the day thou eat of the tree, thou shalt surely die. That came as a result of her sin. The wages of sin is death. Right? And so she brought that on. So I don't think she would go back and eat the tree. And she had a do-over. And a lot of times in life we don't have a do-over. If she had a do-over, I think she would probably try to hew that tree down. Take the axe to that thing. You understand me? You know what I mean? But that's what we have to look at things. We got to look at things from that perspective. Am I ready to deal with these consequences? Is it, what I mean? No. And I think the answer is a lot no to people. Because the reason why I say that, because people, they act all big and bad until they get caught. You start seeing people, now they're begging for mercy. They done took 5 other people's lives, but they want mercy. You understand me? Everybody act like that they're, like this is the right thing to do until the consequences hit them. So no, I think that no, when you actually really truly see them consequences in front of you, you wouldn't do the things that you do. But we got to realize that we don't always answer right at the time we do the behavior. We don't do that. We don't always answer right then and there. You know what I mean? He doesn't bring judgment all the time, right then and there. Sometimes He does, but sometimes he doesn't. So we got to realize, saying, hey, listen, I know this isn't the right thing to do, but it's going to end up bringing judgment my way. And so I want you to think about this. When sin enters into one's life, they're usually okay. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. They're okay. They're usually okay. And what I mean by that is their health is, their physical health may be okay. May not be the greatest. It may not be excellent, but it's okay. Their mental health is okay. It may not be excellent, but it's okay. It's okay. Their family relationships may not be excellent, but it's okay. Their work may not be excellent, but it's okay. But whenever sin begins to enter into it, when sin enters into it, sometimes their physical health is going to deteriorate. It's not going to be okay. What was okay is horrible now. Right? Their mental health that was okay is horrible now. Their family relationships, which was okay, is now horrible now. Their families don't want to have anything to do with them because of some of the consequences that they brought, because of some of the behaviors that they engaged in. Their work life is now maybe non-existent because of some of the situations, some of the behaviors that they did. So they might have started out being okay, and when sin entered in, it took them somewhere far worse. Somewhere far worse. See, they were thinking about doing this thing because they thought, man, this is going to enhance my life. This is going to make my life more enjoyable. This is going to make my life more exciting. But it actually takes them somewhere far away from being exciting. They start off that way. It's like they get lured in. It's like they're getting baited in, just like when you bait like a trap to try to catch a rodent or something. You may get baited in and thinking, okay, it's going to, oh man, I can smell the cheese. It's right there. Right? And you go there and you're thinking that it's okay, and then all of a sudden the hammer gets brought down. That's just like sin. So you start out being okay. Right? You start off being okay. You're not excellent. Your physical health, you may not be in awesome condition. You may not be buffed out or slimmed down, but you're okay though. But when you start getting in certain things such as like drugs, and all of a sudden that okay health that you had is horrible. You ever see anybody who's been on drugs and they're sitting there doing drugs and thinking that they're, trying to do this, I'm feeling really great. They look horrible. They look horrible. They're all thinned out. Man, their teeth look like they're falling out their mouth, right? My son had said, he gave me an expression of how it looked, and I'm like, man, that is right. He said they have this washed out look. They look like they've been, it's like, I forget exactly, but it was like they look all faded, like they've been washed out. And see, the thing about it is that they might have started off with okay health. Meaning that, they weren't in the greatest physical condition, but they weren't in the worst. And all of a sudden now, whenever the drugs entered in, they're in a horrible state. They look like they could be blown away. Like you could just blow them and they can be blown away. They're in a worse state. And that's what sin does. It works death. It doesn't bring you anything good. It's showing you good. It's just like, how many of you ever seen like a toy being advertised on TV, or something like that, or something that's supposed to come through, a cereal box, and you're like, man, Mom, get that cereal right there, get it, Mom, I want that toy in the inside, and you're like, this can't be it. This is it. This can't be. This is what I saw on TV. You know what I mean? That's the same thing that goes on. It's promising you, saying, hey, listen, it's a good time. It's a good time. I'm going to give you this good time. And then you might have it but there's a price to pay for that good time. The devil's not giving you that good time for no reason. There's going to be a price that you're going to pay for it. Right? There's going to be a price because you're going against what God has to say. It's just like whenever you think about your natural family. Your friend might be saying, oh man, come on, man, come with me, man. Oh, my mom told me I got to come home right after school. Oh, come on, man. She probably won't even notice that you're gone for a little bit. Just come on. And then you go there, you have a little bit of fun. And you're like, oh man. And then all of a sudden, you get to the door and she says, Garnett, come here for a moment. Start sinking. You're like, man. And you're like, man, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have went with him. I should have listened to Mom. I should have listened. You know, he's not here getting the beating with me. It's just me and me by myself. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, man. Now it's time to, you ain't out there high-fiving and feeling good now. You're like, man, Mom, can I talk to you for a moment, Mom? This is what, Mom, I'll never do it again. I know you're never going to do it again, right? Because I want you to remember this whooping. Right? But see, that's what we do, right? You know what I mean? We got to quit that foolishness. Quit getting whooped up on. You know what I mean? God wants to give us, He wants to bless us. He don't want to be whipping up on us. But we bring it on ourselves through the sin that we bring it, because the wages of sin brings death. There's nothing good just coming from it. There's nothing good. There's nothing good coming from it. So I want you to think about it. We're normally okay. Like I said, I'm not going to say we're excellent, right? But we're normally okay, but when we get into sin, it drops us off a lot worse than what we are. And we're doing it because we thinking it's going to make us feel better than what we are. It's going to put us in a better position than what we are. This is going to make my life more happy and satisfying. This is going to make me seem cool in front with everybody else. This is going to allow me to have this material over there. This is going to allow me to do that. We're thinking it's going to usually enhance our lives, but it usually makes our life worse than better. So I want you to understand that. Right? And what I really don't want you to do, and what I really want you to stop being is, don't be, when you see people out there that's giving in the sin and let the devil play with them, you know, I know this is what I don't want you to. I don't want you to be Pinocchios. You understand me? Don't be no Pinocchio, chasing after the good, chasing after pleasure and ignoring sound advice. And then all of a sudden he's caught. And he's like, you know, no, don't do that. See, the thing about it is and that's just how the devil tries to do us. That's just how he tried to do it. He tries to put everything off. It's like, oh, come on, man. You know what, let's do this right here. We're going to have a good time. You're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to do that. Right? And it usually comes crashing down on us. It usually comes crashing down on us. So I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that. All righty, we got these babies going on here. All righty, yeah, we got children here. Show them how to act in church. All righty. Okay, so I want you all to understand that. So, don't be a Pinocchio. Don't just chasing after the pleasure and ignoring sound advice. Ignoring sound doctrine, ignoring what Jesus tells us to do. No, just realize that what you're seeing, say, hey, listen, I know there's a price to pay for this. Okay, if I'm going to do this, I know there's a price that comes with this. Am I willing to pay that price? Am I willing to pay that price? I know there's a price with this. I know that I'm not going to get away with this for free. Am I willing to pay that price? And you got to answer yourself, you know, you got to be honest with yourself. Are you willing to pay that price? Let me think about the last time I got in trouble. Was I willing to pay that price? You know, I mean, I remember the pain there. And, you know, I don't know how bad this punishment may be. Am I willing to pay that price? Am I willing to pay that price? You got to ask yourself them questions, right? And see, the thing about it is a lot of times we're looking at the thing that we think looks good. Right? And thinking, oh man, I like to do this. But think about like this. If you are actually in the woods and you're starving for food, and you're in the woods and you're starving, you're trying to get something to eat, what you think looks beautiful and good, don't you eat. Don't you eat. They say that the things that are the most colorful that looks good is the poisonous stuff. But we think it looks good. Oh man, you see them red berries right there? Bring them on over here. They look like they're juicy and delicious. Okay, you see that yellow stuff over there? Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm going to tear that up right there. Bring that on over here. You're getting poisoned. But the stuff you pass by, you like, man, that looks all dull and ugly, man. That's the stuff that you're really supposed to eat when you're out there in the woods. You understand me? But see, if we would just go by what looks good, we'd be in a world of hurt. We'd be in a world of hurt. And that's the same thing go with us, because the thing about it is that things that you think that looks good, that you think looks good doesn't mean that it's good for you. Right? Everything that looks good isn't good for you. And so we got to ask ourselves, say, hey, listen, this is right now, this is just a surface thing right here. This is what's behind that? What's behind this thing? Right? What's going on with this? And we got to ask ourselves, it looks good, right? Right? You know, it looks good. I mean, it really does. I can't, you know, hey, it is what it is. It looks good. But is this what I should be doing? Is this it? What's behind this thing? What's behind this? Okay, it looks good. I can see it right now. I can see, okay, all right, okay, that looks good. But what's behind here? Is it going to be anything that's going to attack me? And I'm going to go to my pastor's, one of his sermons that he had given, right? And I use this from time to time too. My pastor was talking about the fish. And he was saying that, you know, whenever the fish sees that hook, when the fish sees that worm looks really, really, really good to him. He's looking at it, he wants that worm, he wants to eat that worm. But inside that worm is a hook, and you're going to get caught. And that's what happens, that's what a lot of sin is. There's hooks, and it's hooks in them sins. There's hooks. That's what it is. And you're going to get caught. So I want you to understand that. And some of you are probably young. I don't know, some of you, let's see a show of hands. How many of you all either heard or remember seeing Mr. Yuck stickers? Okay, all right. I'm going to tell you about Mr. Yuck. All right, Mr. Yuck. Mr. Yuck, there used to be a song, Mr. Yuck is mean, Mr. Yuck is green. Right. And basically what Mr. Yuck was, yuck. Anything that's yuck don't sound good, right? It was supposed to be on like poisonous things that you would put on in your house. Like stickers that teach children, like, oh, that's Mr. Yuck, I'm staying away from that. Right? You know what I mean? So that was called, they came out with, whenever I was a kid, they had like, they called Mr. Yuck stickers. You know, and you would put them on, so when children see them, they knew that wasn't something to be good. Because sometimes children see stuff, they're like, man, I want that. Right? You see antifreeze, it look like it's Gatorade. Don't drink it. It's not Gatorade. You understand what I'm saying? But Mr. Yuck sticker would probably be on that. On the antifreeze or on different things like that. But so what I'm telling you is we need to put Mr. Yuck stickers on all the sin. So when you see that, say, oh no, not that. We need to put them Mr. Yuck stickers on everything that's sin. And put that on your mind. Say, oh, that's a Mr. Yuck. No, that's Mr. Yuck. No, that's sin. I ain't dealing with that. I'm not going to deal with that. And the thing about it is when that happens, we can't even, when you see sin, when you see the evidence of sin, when sin starts to approach you, your job is to run and not yield to it. Because when you yield to sin, you want to know what happens? It gives you time to get taken over by it. It gives the devil time to convince you that this is the right thing to do. So when you see sin, man, you start picking them up and putting them down, saying, oh no. Somebody start talking, or they're trying to convince you of something other than what the Bible is saying. Oh, you know what? I'm usually open-minded, but whenever it comes to things that's dealing with the Bible, and it's telling me that I should not do these things, I shut it down. So I don't even want to hear about it. I don't want to hear. We can talk about something else, but I ain't dealing with that. That's subject God already ruled on now. Matter of fact, he created you like he created me. He can just all of a sudden decide to take your breath right now. You'll stop talking. So I can't listen to you because he already told me that this is not a subject to be dealing with. This is not a subject to deal with. So we can't yield. We can't yield to things like that, right? So when you see things that are coming up, don't yield to it. You get away from it as fast as you can. Because the longer you stay with it, just think about Eve. I'm going to go back to Eve again. When she was in that garden, and that serpent was talking to her, she had to be there a while to listen to his convincing, didn't she? She had to be there a while. Oh, why don't you take some of that fruit? Oh, God said we shouldn't eat that fruit. Oh, because he said the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. No, you won't die. You're not going to. You won't die. You'll be like gods, knowing good and evil. She had to sit there and listen to that. God already told her, don't eat of this tree. Don't do it. But she had to sit, do you all understand? And that's what happens. I mean, I want you all to really truly understand and listen. Have an open mind, open ears. I'm going to save you from a lot of pain.
Great.
Whenever that happens, you got to back away. See, people are going to have their reasons why they think you should do something. And it may sound convincing. Everybody hear me? Everybody hear what I'm telling you? It may sound convincing. What they're telling you sounds convincing, man. It sounds like, man, it sounds so, it sounds good to your ear. You're like, man, that does sound right. That does sound right. Because they're trying to be persuasive, right? And it may sound good to you. But when you move away from it and you don't give a chance to hear it, you're not going to get persuaded. You're not going to go over into that. So when you see somebody talking and doing something you know this sin that God told you that you shouldn't be doing, you got to back away from it fast, quick, and in a hurry. You can't sit there and begin to say, well, tell me a little bit more, and sit there and listen to that nonsense. Amen. Because if Eve would have ran when she seen that, she wouldn't, we still be living. You understand me? And then, you know what I mean? So the thing about it is we got to make sure that we don't even yield to that. No, I don't want to hear that, man. That's talking nonsense. You got to realize, you got to act like they're saying somebody's pulling a gun on you right now. Or you're going to stick around and somebody say, you know what? Wait right here. I'm going to go get my gun and I'm going to point it directly at you. And I may pull the trigger too. Right? Hold on. Are you sticking around? No, you're getting out of there. And that's what you got to act like when somebody is trying to tell you, something that you know God has already talked about, what He's already ruled on, what He's already said. Somebody's trying to tell you to do something that God's telling you that you shouldn't be doing. You got to run. You got to run like you're trying, like they're overtaking you, like the enemy's trying to overtake you, like you're running for your life, like they were running for their life, baby, back in the land of Africa, whenever the slave traders were trying to come over there. Man, they weren't sitting around saying, you know what, that guy got a neck there. I wanted to stay here and to see what he's about. Oh man, that's what my mom was talking about. There's going to be people coming into our land taking off. You ain't sitting there investigating, sitting there and seeing what he had to say. Oh, it's going to be good. Oh, I'm going to take you to a land to where you're going to have more water. You're going to have more. They can make it sound good. They can make it sound good. I'm going to take you to a land where there's water, there's horses. We have better provisions. Oh my, I'm going to take you to a land of opportunity. They can make it sound good. They can tell you that you're going to be, that they're going to be whipping your back. You know what I mean? They're going to be cutting off your foot. They didn't tell you that part, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Don't yield to it, because they're going to tell you the part that they think that you want to hear. They're going to be telling you what you want to hear. What you want to hear. But they're not telling you about all that other nonsense that's going on. You got to run from that. Say, no, I ain't listening to that. You know what I mean? If it's that good, you won't have to convince me. I'll know it's that good. Free. You understand me? I'll know it's that good. You won't have to convince me. Amen. So you got to run from that. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the Word of God and see what the Word of God has to say about this. So we're going to go turn to Genesis 4, chapter 4, verses 8 through 13. Verses 8 through 13. Everybody with me still? Yeah. Huh? All right. And I'm telling you, the way to the sin is death. It looks like it's a good party going on. But, you may not come out of it alive. Just think about this. I'm going to go ahead and do a little before I read this. Before we read this portion of Scripture, I want you to think about this. Listen to me. Now, think about this. This was a guy, Lenny Bias. Think about Lenny Bias. It was reported that he had never done drugs before. If you don't know who Lenny Bias is, he was a phenomenal basketball player, college basketball player in like the mid-'80s. Right, phenomenal. He was actually supposed to be ranked over Michael Jordan when they came out of college. He was that good. He was phenomenal. He looked like a specimen. He looked good, man. You know what I mean? He played for Maryland. Best college player in the country. He got drafted number 1 by the Boston Celtics. Right? Listen to this. And now, and it didn't seem like that he came from a broken home. His mom and dad were in the home. It wasn't like he was an underprivileged kid because his mom was actually a doctor. doctor bias, you know what I mean? And so the thing about it is listen to this situation. It's reported that he had never done drugs before. That's what the report was. But listen. So all of a sudden he decided to do drugs. Why? He thought that it was going to give him a better time. Why do them now? He was probably thinking it was going to take him to a new experience, to a better experience, to something better than he had had and done before. He died. He died that day. First time he done drugs and he died. He literally died. Not only died, he not only just died spiritually, but he literally died that day. I'm telling you, the wages of sin is death. It's promising you a good time. But it's all hype. It's all hype. There's no good time in it. It's all hype. The rug will get pulled out from underneath you quickly. All right, so let's turn to Genesis 4. Verse 8